I'll be leaving Lone Pine, California, and we'll start my road trip across Death Valley. Now, Death Valley is the driest. I can't begin to describe the areas at. The hottest, 120 degrees plus in the summertime, of course, which makes that close to 45 to 50 Celsius. And right now, it's early morning and it's already 19 Celsius, probably 73, 74 Fahrenheit. So this will be the starting point for me for the road trip across Death Valley. You know, we're entering Death Valley, and I don't know if this is what I expected, but it's originally named by the natives for the red ochre, which you can see on the right-hand side. I think we're about the 5,000 foot level. And within about 10 to 15 kilometers or 8 miles of Lone Pine, temperature jumped about 8 or 9 degrees. So let's see where this trip into Death Valley takes us. Maybe 3 hours across to drive from Lone Pine across through Death Valley into Nevada, but make sure that you're fully stocked with water and you've topped up with gas. I've passed very few vehicles out here, and it is pretty remote. I'm coming into major incline and decline coming down into Death Valley area. I've traveled across North America, and I have to admit this is probably one of the longest stretches of switchbacks that I've experienced. A little bit challenging. That was one of the most challenging drives I've had in many years. I don't mind telling you. My adrenaline's going. Came down at least down 2,500 feet, and those switchbacks were down to 20 and 30 miles. So I'm standing by the road right now. Gonna have to take a deep breath and relax. It's not what I expected out of coming into Death Valley. That's what I need is Red Bull. The truck just passed me. Got to catch up to it. Well, I'm still following the Red Bull truck, going back up to 4,000 foot level. This is difficult driving. Again, when you come into the Death Valley, you better be prepared. Not what I expected. This is an 8% grade all the way down. If I was in an amusement park, I'd be charging for that ride. Of all the months I've been traveling across the US and part of Canada, I've never used my brakes or turned as much or hit the elevations I had. It was not what I expected at Death Valley, but I think finally through it. My first stop is Stovepipe Wells. Could take a coffee break here. I need it after that ride. Also, the Red Bull guys here, young guy I talked to about coming down that grade. We had a good chuckle about that one. They have camping here, but I'm going to continue down to the next major center down at Furnace Creek. These are the Mesquite Dunes in the middle of Death Valley, and they were popular because Star Wars: A New Hope, part of it was filmed here. There were scenes from Star Wars. One of us were fans. I found an oasis at Furnace Creek, which is the driest place in North America, probably the lowest place in North America, and it actually has the record for the hottest temperature ever recorded. I believe that was probably about 57 Celsius, maybe about 130 Fahrenheit. So I'm going to take advantage of this little oasis I found, and we'll continue the journey till we get out of Death Valley. Camping on national park lands in Furnace Creek. Just to expect every morning. Coming out of Death Valley, a small town which is probably about 2 inhabitants, called Death Valley Junction. Amber Gross is the other name. At one time it even had an opera house. It looks like there might be a bit of revitalization going on, but I'm going to check it out. If I see anything more interesting, I'll put it in this video, but right now I'm out of Death Valley, and you know, they only get 2 inches of rain, but today's the day they chose to rain. But now you've seen what you can do when you're crossing from Lone Pine, California, all the way over to Death Valley Junction. You'll see some strange buildings in the desert. Now, Death Valley has some very interesting places. Go check this one out. This one here is the Death Valley Marketplace, complete with donkeys. Let's go check it out. The miners over 150 years ago in Death Valley, when they left their claims, they left a lot of their donkeys behind, and of course the donkeys, the wild donkeys, took over, and now in the last few years they've been rescuing donkeys, and you can see that I found one area that they're taking care of the donkeys. So for my friends that love animals, I got some close-up of the donkeys for you.